Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I want to thank all of you for being here today. As one of 8 children, I was able to put myself through college with a smorgasbord of help, whether it was the Perkins loans, the Pell Grants, student work study, and it was significantly important to me, but we're finding more and more that students are not having that same opportunity. And in fact, research from the Brookings Institute predicts that by 2023, nearly 40% of borrowers may default on their loans. So to me, this indicates that we do have a student loan default crisis, which is a much bigger crisis for minority and low-income students, particularly those who attend for-profit colleges. The study finds that default for students at for-profit schools is almost 4 times that of those that attend community colleges. We also know that Black students are 3 times more likely to enroll in for-profit colleges than their peers, and students at the bottom quartile are twice as likely to enroll at for-profit colleges than students in the top. Mr. Quall, I wanted to ask you, given these statistics, can you explain why students who attend for-profit institutions are at greater risk of default?
For-profit colleges tend to be significantly more expensive. They tend to be priced at the level that would require you to borrow a federal student loan at the maximum level. They often offer mediocre education or worse. And as a result, we do see a lot of students defaulting or failing to make payments on their student loans.
Thank you. You had said earlier that, like you said, that students that qualify from these for-profit colleges actually may do worse in the labor market than they otherwise would do, even if they didn't go to school. This happens even though the credentials they offer tend to be 30 to 40% more expensive. ABC interviewed a young veteran, Brian Babcock, a couple years ago, who served our country in Iraq, and his plan was police work when he graduated. He used his GI Bill money to pursue criminal justice degree at ITT Tech, which we all know what happened with that. He heard about the school on a commercial. ITT promised him that all police agencies would take his credential, and they even helped him fill out the student loan application, which led him to borrow up to $70,000. He went on to apply to 20 to 23 police departments to only find out that none of them recognized this degree. We just discovered today, and this is a particularly important point in Nevada. We have a lot of for-profit universities that have shut their doors, 30 in the last 10 years. And we just discovered today that 1,733 GI Bill recipients were affected by the most recent closures of the Dream Education schools, of which one is in my district alone. Can you explain more specifically, speak to why minority students and veterans tend to be the target of these predatory recruitment practices by for-profits?
I think in many cases, students don't have experience with college. They have family members who don't have experience with college. We know that for-profit colleges engage in very high pressure or sometimes deceptive recruiting tactics. In 2010, the GAO sent undercover investigators to for-profit colleges. All 15 found misleading statements. 4 of them found fraudulent statements. The veterans are particularly attractive to for-profit colleges because they generate revenue outside of what is called the 90-10 rule, which limits revenue to 90% of student aid. And so for all of those reasons, you see the practices of for-profit colleges falling disproportionately heavily on the communities you mentioned.
Thank you. Real quickly, we're running out of time. Any quick suggestions for what the federal government can do to protect these students?
I think it's really important to have standards to make sure that students who graduate can find jobs and repay their loans. I think it's important to crack down on the use of commissioned salespeople, which lead to a lot of this deceptive information. I would certainly include GI benefits and DoD spending and the limitation on the amount of federal funds that these for-profit colleges can include. And I think that students who are defrauded should have a right to get their loans forgiven, which is true in theory, but not in practice today.
Correct. Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Thank you. The gentlelady from Massachusetts, Ms. Strahan.